at the ports today because the Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta-Kando, has directed all security agencies across the country's borders to confiscate any drug that will either be imported or exported through the land borders. This follows an interception of a container full of opioid drugs with about 20 million Ghana cedis at the Tema port today by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA. The action comes on the back of a BBC Africa Eye investigation, you recall, that was aired on February 2025 that uncovered the export of unapproved drugs containing tapentadol and carisoprodol by India's Avio Pharmaceuticals to West African countries, including Ghana. Following from that investigative piece, the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, in a statement said it had taken action against local entities involved with Avio Pharmaceuticals. Samos Pharma, a registered importer, had been directed to cease collaborations with that pharmaceutical company and its exporter, Westfin International Private Limited. Additionally, the FDA also has suspended the processing of product registration applications from Masters Pharmaceutical Limited, which had engaged Avio Pharmaceuticals as a contract manufacturer few weeks after shipment of opioids needed indeed for Niger. Now, the products that they seized today contain Rahul tapentadol 250 milligrams, that's 26 cartons of that. They also seized the 160 cartons of tafadol or tapentadol 120 milligrams. Timatin tapentadol 120 milligrams, that's 40 cartons of that. There was also 190 cartons of loperamide, that's 2 milligrams of that. Briefing the media at the port, Minister for Health Kwabena Minta-Kando assured that the government is committed to preventing Ghana from being used as a transit point for opioid trafficking.
We have the full support of His Excellency the President. Number one, per our rules and regulations, per our laws, there are only 2 areas, designated areas, for the imports and export of medication or drugs, if you like. Tema Port and the Kotoka International Airport. Drugs are not imported through our land borders, and therefore I encourage all the stakeholders, all our security agencies, to confiscate any drugs, even if it is paracetamol, and it's going through our land borders. And the President has also committed that he is going to provide all the logistics it takes for us to effectively fight the influx of opioid in this country. So the law is clear. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. In fact, we are also looking at tightening our regulations regarding transit goods, because usually they hide behind transit goods. Last night, I was in talks with the minister responsible for foreign affairs. We are contacting the Niger government to know whether or not they have okayed such a consignment. Even if they have, we will not allow our ports to be a transit point for illegal or unauthorized drugs. We will take safe custody of the consignment we have impounded, and we will swiftly move to court for order for its proper disposal. We include all agencies, and you agree with me that this fight is multi-sectorial. NACO on board, FDA, customs, everybody. And anybody who will find himself in this particular issue or matter, we will deal with the person. I have asked the whereabouts of the exporters or the importers, and very soon I'll be updated on their current status. And so we want to encourage all of you, the public, to give us the information as and when you pick them. Without information, there's less we can do.
So that's the Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta-Kando, speaking to the media earlier today at the Tema port when they confiscated opium drugs worth over 20 million Ghana cedis. They say it's intended for Niger, but he says they will not allow our borders to be used for the trafficking or transportation of such medication. Dr. Shiraz Isahaku is a senior researcher at the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. He joins us on the line. Doc, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time tonight on 505.
Good evening, and good evening to our listeners.
Okay, so help us understand this opioids that looks as if it's now the thing or the go-to thing for young people, especially those in JHS, SHS. What are these all about?
Okay, so normally it's actually a drug used for severe pain.
Okay.
And it is from made up from an opium plant, or it can be produced in the lab.
Okay.
However, when you take this drug, it combines with what we call the opium receptors on the nerve cell in the brain. And also, it has a serious effect with those who take the drug, especially because of the function of the nervous system. You may have to feel what they normally will call high. In other words, you feel as if you are top of the world. But what it does is that it becomes addictive. In the long run, you lose balance. It stops breathing, and other effects on your body, and can even lead to death.
Deals with severe pain. Is it the same thing as tramadol, or what they call on the streets as red?
Okay, so it performs almost the same function.
Okay. You are a researcher. What do you think is causing the youth of today to be using those drugs? What is in it?
Basically, just like what I said a few minutes back. Because it has a function to let you feel high, more or less as if you are on top of the world, you are all over, and you don't hear anything, you can do anything, you can act anyhow. The young guys then feel like when they take it, they feel comfortable, feel happy, temporal in nature, but I can tell you that the long-lasting effect is huge.
We'll look at the serious effect, but per some of the videos we've seen, these young people, when they take it, it's like they are sleeping. So I don't know whether it's the sleeping that is the high, or because some of them are walking, some of them are sitting and they are dozing off and they have no idea what's happening around them.
So obviously it is in two forms. When you take it with a low dose, in other words, if you don't get enough into the system, as you said, it combines with your nervous system and you feel a little weak, and at the end of the day, you feel sleepy.
Okay.
However, if you take it in a high dose, otherwise you take more than what the body can take, you let you feel as if you are high pleasure, as if something is making you feel happy, and in doing that, you become addictive. In other words, you feel like taking more, and when that happens, it can lead to shortness of your breath. It can damage your brain. It can let you feel as if you are imbalanced, and in long run, it can lead to death.
And these signs you've talked about, shortness of breath, damage to the brain and all that, is it the long-term effect or the immediate effect?
Yes, as I said, it depends upon the quantity you take in. And the young guys, as you said, mostly they take it to become high. And in very short time frame, you will realize that such a person is that the brain is completely damaged. The nervous system is no longer responding to stimulate. And at the end of the day, you lose your life.
For some time now, the FDA has been confiscating some of these products. They've also suspended the license of some pharmaceutical companies that were working with their Indian counterpart that is manufacturing these drugs, following from the BBC report. We've had the health minister go on the floor of parliament to tell Ghanaians about some measures they've put in place to address it. Today, they confiscated 20 million Ghana cedi worth of these opioids. They say, according to the importers, their final destination is Niger. But the minister is saying they're not going to allow our land borders to be used as transit points. Do you think these measures are enough to curtail the use of these opioids in the country?
Obviously, since we still have it in the system, I think we need to do more. What I think should happen is that FDA should liaise with Pharmacy Council to actually monitor not just the entering, but the pharmaceutical companies to ensure that whatever you are selling is what you are required to sell. But these drugs, most of them are meant for a very good purpose. And they are supposed to be sold under what we call prescription. Before you buy them, you must have to hold a paper and a complete information about the drug, including how it's going to be taken, is written on the paper before you are given such a drug. Unfortunately, due to poor monitoring and then lack of proper supervision, both at the various agencies level, this leads to misuse and then taking of the drug by unauthorized person, and it leads to what we call drug abuse.
Who is supposed to monitor? Because you and I know that in this country, we do a lot of over-the-counter drugs. Just go into the pharmacy. The pharmacists want their money. They'll just go, you buy, or maybe somebody would even send a kid to go and buy, and there are no questions. The people are given the drugs and they come and use. So how then do you monitor?
Yes, so the monitoring can be in two levels. At the entry point level, every single pot, just like what the minister said, which I believe is in order, it's supposed to come through the harbor, not through the land entry points, where we have FDA fully represented, and you cannot clear any drug without the clearance of FDA. That's one level. And if that is enforced properly, and to avoid people saying that I'm going to have it on transit and ended up offloading these drugs within the country. The second level, which I think is extremely important, and I know those who have some experience in it will tell you, that at every pharmacy shop or a hospital, what we call a pharmacy council will have what we call a monitoring team. They visit them unannounced, do some surveillance, look at whatever drugs you have in your shelves, and I can tell you most of them, they don't put these drugs in the shelf. But there are ways you can get them. If I want to actually do this within an hour, I can tell you that within all pharmacies within Accra, we can go around and I can tell you that this, they sell it here, they don't sell it here. So FDA, together with Pharmacy Council, will have to increase the surveillance to ensure that those who are supposed to be selling this to people who meant to use them are actually buying them from the pharmacy shops, not those who want to feel high and at the end of the day destroy. What it also does is that because you become addicted to it, you'll be forced to look for it. And if you don't even have money, those drugs are quite expensive. You may have to go into a lot of criminal acts just to get money to buy this drug because you are addicted to it and you cannot do without it. And this is why I believe the security agencies should team up with the Pharmacy Council together with FDA to ensure that these drugs are taken off from our shelves. Otherwise, in the near future, we may all be laughing at the wrong type of money.
Okay, so it's a shared responsibility. Those who would go to the shelves and buy. But you know, when you are keeping it off the shelves, then there's also the market for the black market. What role do you and I, or the ordinary Ghanaian, have to play to also ensure that our children are safe from these drugs?
So obviously, parents listening to us should take note of the following. One, if you realize that your child is behaving unusual, especially his sleeping habits, his eating habits, the way he normally acts in the house, please pop in and get him to answer some few questions regarding what is resulting into that kind of behavior. As a parent, this is your responsibility. And then those of us in the health sector, what we also need to do is that please, let's avoid selling this drug to the young guys. It may end up coming back to harm us. If those two steps are taken, I can assure you that most of these challenges may be resolved before even it gets out of hand. Because if the drugs pharmacy shops refuse to sell these drugs to the younger ones, they may not have it to buy anywhere. And in that case, they will not be able to abuse it.
Doc, very grateful for your time tonight on 505. That's the senior researcher of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, Dr. Shiraz Isahaku.